I work night shifts at the emergency room. I work as a nurse, male nurse. Insert insulting comment here. It was a never usual night, nothing out of the ordinary. I had been employed at this place several months by now, getting on for maybe a year. These shifts were always chaos, especially around holidays and the like. I can't say it's something that you ever get used to, maybe numb to it. I don't know how to describe it, but you learn to be able to work in the chaos anyway. I've dealt with all kinds of things in my tenure here. Stabbings, shootings, overdoses, car accidents. The most brutal and horrific injuries you have ever seen. Just to give you an example, one night, a guy came in after a motorcycle crash. His face was barely recognizable. His skull was crushed on one side, blood everywhere. He could barely breathe and his chest was caved in. I remember having to manually squeeze air into his lungs because the damage was so bad. We moved fast to try and stabilize him, but we knew he could not make it. From the look in his eye, he knew too. Every single second, he was conscious of the fact that he was slipping away. It's horrifying to think about. So, when I tell you that what I'm about to tell you was the most disturbing thing I've ever dealt with, you know I am not exaggerating. It was around midnight on this particular shift, maybe slightly earlier, I can't recall correctly. Paramedics had brought in a man who looked to be approximately in his late 30s. He was messed up, clothes covered in dirt, almost not a single clean spot on his clothes. They were all torn up too, like he'd been in a struggle and someone had tried to rip or cut them all off. He was completely disoriented when he came in, shaking uncontrollably. Could barely get halfway through a sentence before trailing off or mumbling through the rest of it. At first, I thought it might be a result of some kind of overdose. Maybe he'd gotten fucked up and then gotten himself hurt or into a fight or something. I'd definitely seen drug users in worse states than his. He kept mumbling through sentences. He was trying really hard to communicate and was not giving up. "I need help, they're after me," is about the only coherent thing we got out of him in the first 30 minutes or so. Again, I just assumed he was paranoid from the drugs he was probably on. He was constantly scoping out the room, eyes darting around, looking for exits to escape through. Really jittery and could not keep still. For the next 30 minutes, he would not stop repeating some variation of, "They're after me," or "I'm being followed by someone," usually broken up by slurring of his words. Seemed like textbook paranoid delusion, and it was pretty much dismissed. It's easy to get this way when you're high, especially after an OD or a bad trip. But the way he just kept glancing over his shoulder, I can't lie, it really was beginning to freak me out. It was as if he was expecting someone to show up in that very room at any moment. It didn't just seem like anxiety or drugs, but real fear and trauma. I tried to calm him down, but he would not sit still. He just kept writhing while he was sat down and just repeating the same thing to me over and over again. "They are coming for me. Please, you have to hide me right now or they will find me. They will be here soon." Just some variation of this every few minutes. I had him admitted to a room in a ward where I or another nurse would be able to get to him very quickly. Someone who knew what was up with him, and so we could rectify the situation without some random nurse having to be caught up to speed. We have CCTV obviously, but I made sure to make a note of how he was acting and advised my colleagues to keep a close eye. It was more for the safety of the other patients in the ward rather than his own. If he thought someone was after him, who knows what he might do to another patient if he gets mistaken, or really is fried out of his mind. When I admitted him, he would not settle down. He just kept looking out of the window and pacing back and forth. Even checked under the bed 2 or 3 times in the few minutes that I watched him. He was clearly just working himself up. Maybe a result of a bad trip. Around 2 a.m. that night, the night nurse came and found me. She looked really puzzled. Told me that there was someone just standing in the parking lot. What? That they had been there for a while, just standing next to the same car. It was definitely strange, but it did not immediately send me into panic mode. The hospital parking lot had a lot of night owls, people refreshing themselves or getting some air near their car if they've been sleeping here to check in on a loved one. The occasional druggie sneaking in too, or just people hiding out. I took a look outside the window and I froze. The man I had just admitted. He was not in his fucking room anymore. He was standing out there by a car. He looked almost as if he was in a trance, just staring off into the distance or at the building. He did not seem as panicked as he did earlier, just distant and dazed, like he was not really there anymore. I grabbed a security guard and went outside to retrieve the guy. He was clearly very unwell. By the time we got there though, he was gone. The security guard thought I was a moron playing tricks on him, but I assured him I was serious. We went back inside and headed immediately to the guy's room. His door was ajar when we got there. He was not in his bed, nowhere to be found in his room. I even checked under the bed in case he was hiding from someone. The room was totally empty. The only bright side was that the security guard was now taking me seriously. I was in a panic. He was my patient and he had just disappeared. My ass was on the line. How could I be so stupid as to leave someone clearly on drugs there without supervision? While his room was empty, I did find a note on his bed. Just a torn off scrap of paper that was scrawled on hastily. Barely legible really. He must have written it in a rush just before he left his room. It just said, "They found me. Don't look for me. I told you they would come." I just stared at the words with my mouth agape before snapping back to reality and showing the note to the guard. He was clearly still suffering from delusions. The worst part was, he could be anywhere by now, wandering the streets. He could easily be hit by a car or mugged and attacked. I was fearing for my job really. Selfish, I know. Later on into my shift, that same security guard from earlier called me down. His voice seemed really shaky. I think he just didn't know what to do. He told me police were already on their way, but that I needed to come down to the parking garage because there is something you need to see. My mind was racing the whole way down there. I could not stop myself from panicking. There were already other medical staff in the garage when I got there. I freaked out. Then I saw him. The man I had admitted just a few hours ago. He was lying in the middle of the garage, face down. His body was twisted in a way I did not think the human body could twist. It looked like he had dropped from a height and been splattered. That's how gruesome it was. His clothes were all torn up, and there were deep, red, crusting stains all over his clothes. His face was a mess. I could just barely recognize who he was through the bruises and the cuts. What really caught my attention was the blood, or lack thereof. There was not enough blood for how many stab wounds he had. His body looked pale and almost malnourished, when just a few hours ago, he did not look half as rough. It looked like his body had just been, I don't know, drained of blood somehow, and then just dumped here to rot. He was clearly dead. We could not move him because it was a crime scene. All we could do was just cordon it off and make sure no other poor souls had to see the sight. The guy's hands were clenched into fists. There were some odd, dark marks on his skin on his fingers. It looked almost like they had been bound too tightly. The skin around his wrists was raw and blistered. Not just that though, there were small wounds along his arms and neck. Like, really small puncture wounds. Maybe needles, maybe something else. They looked too clean, almost surgical. It wasn't just done with any regular knife. I felt sick. I had to take myself away. I had to speak to the police, gave my version of the story. I told them how he was acting, how I thought I saw him standing outside just fine, staring off into the distance. He was missing for quite a few hours, more than enough time for someone to have their way with him. They never once seemed skeptical of my story, made notes, and just quietly nodded the whole way through. Told me that they would be in touch and to just forget about this whole mess. It's not your fault. They never did follow up. Never heard anything about it from them after. Would not usually be so odd. Lots of murders remain unsolved, but the security guard from before, he had given them CCTV footage as evidence. Should have been more than enough to go on. He showed it to me actually. Told me that he shouldn't, that he could get fired if anyone found out. Told me to keep my mouth shut, but that he did not want to have to deal with the secret of knowing what happened alone. The footage from the parking garage made my blood run cold. There was someone else there with the man I admitted. He looked insanely tall, maybe around 6'5" or 6'6". His face was obscured completely by some kind of white, featureless mask, like something you would see out of a cheap horror movie. The man I admitted seemed terrified. The masked man did not seem in a rush, just casually walked towards him. The patient had fallen to his knees and was crawling backwards away as the guy got closer. They seemed to talk about something for a while, but I don't know what. After the conversation, the patient reluctantly goes with him, no struggle at all. Hours after the footage shows the patient being dragged back in his current state. 3 men this time, all the same mask. The guard told me the police reacted pretty similarly to the footage as they did to my story. Took the footage and said they would handle it. They told the guy to delete it even. Said that he should not keep something so grotesque on a hospital computer and that the police would make backup copies. Something about it rubbed the both of us the wrong way, but we've never taken it further. Never contacted the department asking for a follow-up. Something tells me they will just dismiss me. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. I was a security guard in a closing mental asylum. As the name implies, I'm from the great state of Tennessee. I was among a group of armed guards set to protect a closing asylum. Myself and 5 other guards, we were at first glance happy with the post. The building was old, but in decent shape. They had plans to tear down the main building and all the separate isolation lockup buildings. All in all, there were 5 buildings, all separate, by the grounds and chain link fences, but connected by the underground tunnels. The dead tombs is what we called them. Guards were paired up. Some of us have never met before, but we got along okay. Our first day, we met the day crew. Our job was basically to protect the empty building from looters and vandals. Day crew were new guards and unarmed. Only night shift were armed, and they called us all the dust crew because most of us were over 40. I was just 25, but I looked older. Each crew was designated a building. We had our own security offices in each building. Every building except the admin had CCTVs and a PA system. I signed a non-disclosure agreement about the asylum, so I won't say just where it is. If you guess its location, that's 20 points to you. First night rolls up, and we all took our posts before it got dark. My building was pediatrics. 3 stories high, 250 rooms, counting closets and washrooms. Place had limited power, so only 1 floor can be lit up at a time. Each security team was not to be alone. We go everywhere with each other. First things that started were our radios had ungodly static. Still usable, but headaches all around. I hate my building. All they did was remove the people. They left the beds, toys, and everything else undistributed. Everyone who thinks that kids' drawings and handprints are cute and fun has not been in a building that shuts down with lighting problems. Almost from the get-go, I started seeing things. On patrol, we have what's called a deji device. It's an electric logging device to prove that a guard made his rounds. Each room had a magnetic disc mounted to the wall around the windows or back walls. We had to enter each room, touch the deji to the disc, and move on. The hallways were empty, except for some scattered papers and nursing staff stations abandoned. I kept seeing shadows out of the corner of my eye. My partner did as well. We finished our rounds and headed back to the security desk, cutting the power to the floor before walking down the steps to the first floor. The elevators did not have enough power to run up and down. When we arrived back at our office, the door was wide open, and our bags and lunches were out, like someone had inspected them. The door was locked, and so was the lockers with our things in them. We radioed our boss, the major, thinking he was pranking us. He said lock yourselves in, and he would be there in 10 minutes. We did as we were told, putting our food away. I was not going to eat it now. We watched the cameras, the empty rooms and hallways. Hey Anon, notice the nursing station? My partner asked. No, what's up? I said, looking at the monitor. The desk door was open and moving, shaking on its own. We had just been in there. The drawer was closed. We watched, holding our breath as the drawer vibrated out of the desk and onto the floor. Pencils and a large pair of scissors scattering across the floor. On another monitor, one of the doors on the second floor opened. We were spooked. The major arrived, knocking loudly on the door, scaring the living shit out of us. We didn't notice him enter on camera. He was carrying his shotgun and wanted to see the video. He told us to go up to the nurse's station and gather up every sharp item or anything that could be used as a weapon. Before leaving, he told us this. Look you guys, we only have to do this for a few months. It's a spooky old building, and we all know that stupid shit that goes bump in the night. Be careful. We are not the first security company here. They quit for a reason. I picked you all because I'm sure you can handle it. Worst case scenario, burn the sage in the office. The building is almost 140-something years old. It's going to make a noise and shake a little. Don't let it get to you, he said before leaving us. We did as told and went through all the drawers in the nursing stations. 50-something fucking scissors and countless pens and pencils. I thought I'd open an office supply store with everything left behind. We finished our night with little else happening. When we met up with the other guards, they would not talk about what happened their first night. Before going in that night, I looked up ghosts and such. I'd never really been interested in them before this. The sage the major gave us was to drive away spirits. Thinking I had learned enough, I went into the asylum. The major let me through the gate, checked my weapon, and gave me the usual speech of stay calm and be alert. My partner was waiting for me in the security office. He broke rule 1, don't go in alone. The office door was open when I came in. That was odd, considering what happened last night. I was relieved to see him watching Netflix on his mobile hotspot. We locked ourselves in, set up the room for the night. We brought a small feast in order to enjoy the new post. We made our rounds as quickly as possible, checking the windows for damage and checking the deji. After rounds were completed, we settled into a Breaking Bad marathon. About 3:30 a.m., we checking into season 2, debating who we like better, Jesse or Walt, when, hey, you guys finished your last set of rounds yet? The major called over the radio. Shit, yeah, we're on it, sir. We opened the door, running out, deji in hand. Then, boom. The loudest booming noise you ever heard in your entire life. Shook the whole building. Dust fell from the ceiling. I fell over in shock. My partner was trembling. Anon, you guys, what the fuck was that? I heard it over here. The other guards were calling over the radio. The lights started flashing on and off. The elevator doors opened and closed. Then, after a few minutes, all the guards met in the hall from around the asylum. We all searched the building. Nothing. We were very shaken. I was spent. We went home early. The major told us to get some sleep. He would watch our post. I went home as fast as my geo-tracker would fucking fly. I showed up for the third night. My partner did not. He quit. I was alone tonight. The major told me not to make the rounds, just watch the screens and stay locked in the office. I brought my computer and hotspot, so I was trolling on 4chan, when around 12, I saw bright lights. Flashlights. Monitor 55, first floor, back of the building facing the woods. 3 or 4 people were climbing through a broken window. I called the major. Only static on the radio. I followed them through the building with a CCTV. They were getting close to the double doors to the underground. If they went down there, they could get lost, or worse. We guards were not allowed in the tombs. I rushed out of the office, flashlight in hand. My footsteps thundered through the silent building. Round the corner, my radio began screeching like a banshee. The light suddenly blinded me. "It's the guard, help us." They screamed, seeing me. One of them had gotten locked in a closet. I could hear him screaming and beating on the door. I used a boot knife to pry open the door lock. The kids were sat there crying on the floor. The door burst open. A young girl about 13 burst out, tears streaming down her face. She had bruises around her neck and arms. She sobbed uncontrollably as I rushed the kids into the security office. I slammed the door, locking it with a board. As soon as the door was closed, something started beating on my door, slamming against it. I drew my .45, pointing it at the door. My radio began working. The major was calling my name. I told him I caught some kids. Something attacked them and that we were barricaded in my office. All the guards again came and we all rushed out. The kids held onto my belt as we all rushed out of the building, up the stone path, to the admin building. I looked back to the building. A red shadow was looking up at us as we left. Then the lights went out. We called the kids' parents. The kids kept thanking me over and over. The parents were called. I explained what happened. Most of the parents were content that the kids saw something that scared the living shit out of them, and that was punishment enough. Everyone around town knew that this place was haunted. The girl whose name I believe was Amanda, she was the one who was pulled into the closet. Her mom asked to speak to me in private. It was the close of the shift, so I indulged her. She told me she was once a nurse in that very building, that she had been attacked in the very same room by one of the kids who was once there. She told me he took his own life with a pair of scissors in the nursing station on the 2nd floor. He slit his throat. She warned me not to go into the elevators at night. Radios do not work in them, and they will trap me inside for the night. She had it happen to her. I thanked her, and then went home. I started losing sleep. I didn't want to eat much. I was 257 pounds. Starting by the end of the week, I was 249 pounds. I had a few nights off in which the building was empty. When I returned, I had bought my own white sage, a silver cross, and garlic. I know I was freaking out. I was so stupid. But when I got there, the sun was still out, and I felt okay. The major came to my car with a pink box. "That girl's mother came by, left you a present." I opened the box to find a legit, fresh home-baked apple pie. Holy shit, I was happy about that. "Look, Anon, I'm moving you buildings. I want you in the isolation ward. I'm moving Anons to your post. They already moved your stuff in," he said, patting me on the back. "Cheer up, Anon. It's not that bad. Soon they'll bulldoze this place," he said, patting me on the back. "There is a new girl. I want you to train her," he said, and I gave a loud fuck in response. "Go on, she's waiting in the office." I took my pie and apprehension and went to meet my new partner. Isolation was one of, if not the worst of these buildings, and the fucking creepiest by far. Solid brick with razor wire and chain linking fence and wrought iron over all the windows. Fuck, tonight is going to suck. Through the security gates, first door on the left was the security check-in and the office. Anna was a brand new security guard. She just passed the armed guard test. She seemed nice enough and somewhat tough. She was black, light black, with short, well-cut dreads. She was kinda hot. We did the regular round, which were nowhere near as bad as pediatrics building. We ended up eating my apple pie and watching some DVDs she brought with her. There was not a CCTV system in this building. It seemed quiet enough until 3:30. The PA system suddenly came on. A soft breathing over the PA turned into a scratchy laughing static. Anna's face. I've never seen someone look like that. The light outside the security office began flashing on and off. The door started shaking. The elevators began moving up and down at a high speed. All the doors on the upper floors opened at the same time and slammed. Anna's trembling hand had her revolver drawn. What the fuck was that? She stammered. It's alright, it's stopping. It always stopped at 3:45. The guards who took my post in pediatrics called over the radio. Hey, Anon, what's your security badge's number? I told them my number, and they asked if I could meet them in the security office. Me and Anna walked across the grounds to pediatrics. The guards locked us in the office. They had the same thing happen to them, me and my old partner, but then they pointed toward the monitors. Camera 143. The wall at the end of the hall had my badge number painted on the wall in small handprints. A can of turned over paint was on the floor. Anon, we were just down that hall. There was no one else in this building. The major took pictures and checked the whole building. We all began to shrug these things off. It was almost normal to have them happen. Shadows moving around us on rounds. The elevators moving to empty floors. We just began to accept the job. Anna was doing a great job. Me and her started to get close. It was innocent enough at first. After a few months, me and Anna ended up transferring buildings again. A guard shift was becoming normal. I was now in the intensive care wing, suicide watch and observation. This building was very nice. The security office was large and comfortable. The security office was built like a waiting room, plush chairs and a small fireplace. CCTVs with high-definition zoom. I was looking forward to spending time in this building. Same thing with this, building low power and only one floor lit up at a time. These rooms were like cells, clear glass and concrete beds. Nursing stations were cleaned out. All the offices were trashed, papers everywhere and smashed furniture. Be me, about a year ago, hunting hogs in the evening. Sitting in a stand on the southern bottom half of the property. Swamp in front and left. Fenced-in food plot to right. Behind me is the path in. In a stand. I have my trusty Browning A-bolt in 243 along with me that I've used since I was 10 years old. Dusk. Trucks parked about a half-mile away. Crickets, birds, normal shit in the evening air. Start hearing Mexican music way off in the distance. Now, sound travels pretty good in the woods. I just assume it's some guys blasting music by the side of the road with a flat or something. Fuck it, it's faint and far away. Who gives a shit? Starts to get closer. Check electronic sign-in for the property. No one. Fuck it, they probably forgot to sign in, and will do it when they get to the camper that we use as a lodge. Sounds like they passed the entrance to the lodge. Starts getting closer to me. Occurs to me that no one who has access to the property would listen to music like that. Fuck. Text my dad if anyone is supposed to be out tonight. Text my brother to see if it's one of his friends. Nope to both. Pick related is a different stand on the property to give you all an idea of how dense the Florida bush can be. Points to whoever finds the little deer in the photo first. I forgot to mention, the music would periodically stop and then start again, but closer. Sound starts getting closer. Eventually sounds like it's by my truck. Well, they know I'm out here now. Starts going up and down the road. Just the same song. Now sounding like it's just pacing back and forth in the area by my truck. Starts being loud enough that I can definitely make out that it's some sort of Hispanic music. I remember thinking, fuck, I'm gonna get murdered by the cartel or some shit. Music stops again. A short break. Sounds like it's starting to come down the path towards me. Slowly getting louder. At this point, I am tactically shooting bricks and hoping there's no more than 4 guys because that's how much ammo I have left in my rifle. Try recording the sound a few times, as now it's loud enough to hear quite well. Nothing on the recordings. Finally sounds like it's going to come down the path. Hear it coming towards me. I'm ready to 360 no-scope this guy. Nothing coming down the path. Sounds like it's just out of view. Stops again. This moment was so fucking tense. I have no idea why I couldn't see what it was, why I couldn't record the sound. I have no idea who was fucking with me, or why they would be even tracking me up this trail. Sound starts again. But this time, it's not fucking around. It's loud enough that it sounds like it's coming from the tree line around me, fucking circling at a pretty fast speed. Try record it one last time. I'm pretty fucking spooked at this point. If it was a guy, He'd have to run circles through a swamp and hop a fence and cross a small clearing behind me where the path is, all without making noise or being seen at a record pace. If it was a drone or something, it would have to dodge all of the Florida bush, and I did not hear any noise from motors. No car could fit back there. Just me and the fucking music, playing louder than ever. It's getting dark at this point, and this bullshit has been going on for the better part of an hour, with it being close to me for the past 15 minutes. Music finally takes another stop. Scramble out of stand. Bold action with a 3.9 shitty scope at the low ready. Tactical erection. Standard commando stuff. As I'm leaving, I fucking hear it one last time. Fucking following me back. Fuck off to truck, and fuck off to camper, where I spend the rest of the night with my AK, waiting for a sombreroed skinwalker to emerge. And that was it. I mentioned to the guys who were members to the property that there could have been a poacher, and the guys who had trail cameras in the area checked, and found nothing that day. The two on the main road didn't get anything besides me coming and going. Like 2 weeks later, for shits and giggles, I checked my recordings. Every single one had nothing on it besides the sound of bugs, except for one in the middle, which in the background you can hear the music. I still get noped out every time I listen to it. I've been back plenty of times since, and never had anything else like that happen. I'd post it, but I don't know how Vocaroo works. Still no explanation, but creepy to me as fuck. I haven't seen any similar experiences, so I guess mine is unique, if a little ridiculous. Pic is a picture of the property where it opens up. Absolutely gorgeous, with open fields, interspersed with dense swamp and Florida jungle. Here is some personal OC. This is the closest thing to paranormal that's happened to me. Feel free to AMA. Chilling alone in the middle of the night, as one does. Room is in a shoot-off from a large basement. It gets pitch black at night in the basement. Not scared of the dark, at least not at my own house. Live way up in the woods, so never worry about locked doors or windows. Keep food well secure, so bears do not want to get in. Download shitty 3D room scanner on phone. Turn on the lights full blast in my room and do a 360 scan. Stop on the doorway out into the basement. Do a double take. See pic related. Scan a doorway. Look up. Doorway completely black and empty as it should be. Look back at pic related of what appears to be a large figure wearing baggy burlap clothing and a bag over the head. Or at least that's what I see in pic related. Have a moment of not what I call dread, because I did not feel in danger. Just the feeling of your stomach dropping when you see something that you know is really off. Scan again for good measure. Doorway is correctly pitch black this time. Search basement. Find nothing and close my door. Go to sleep, slightly perturbed. Still think about the bagman to this day on occasion. Do you think it looks like an identifiable figure, or am I just being crazy and seeing something in the low-res scan? There was supposed to be nothing there, but this fucker clearly showed up. Even if the lights were on in the basement, the background from that angle would not make those patterns. Don't remember the app, because I deleted it promptly after taking the screenshot. Also, because it took up a fuckload of space on my phone.